Because of the bamboo.
Like
plant over here doesn't.
It doesn't. Oh, okay. Bamboo has. Well, you probably may have seen this as a conventional method of deseeding maize, where farmers usually would have to use their hand to try and take off or knock off the seeds on a corn. But what if we had a technology that can easily just knock off these seeds at a faster rate, convenient and efficient pace? Well, on today's discussion here on the food chain, I will be interacting with a developer who has come up with a nice technology to help farmers to easily deseed their corn when they move it or harvest it from the farm. My name is Emmanuel Bright-Kweku. I hope you enjoyed today's discussion.
Maize is one of the major staple crops of most homes in Ghana and across the African continent. But before the crop can be processed for any meal or product, the maize kernels must be detached from the ears in a process known as shelling. The easiest maize shelling processes are either with the fingers or beating loaded sacks of maize cobs with sticks in situations when the harvests are huge. Farmers, however, argue the process is laborious. Kojo Abu cultivates maize at Manso Edubia in the Amansia West district of the Ashanti region.
And now, so we to say, Abia Brodian, we to who says, I so to say, Yansanity and quantum, Yansanity and quantum, they said, the Obabreno. In the Ariana, bread. Oh, so Brobanian baby, now if you cast away home, you ma, when Sabbath to Obacha who be.
How many days?
Hey, who can find the best bag, dear? And I will go best, you know how. I feel back, Okra. Now, did you eh? So when Saturday drink a crack, don't me yet. Eh, yeah. Oh, 2 years and answer in Moja. Oh, the idea how
So, bro.
oh, bread, yeah, and yet, so bread in a sonia, I think a siesta for one. And young fan said, a brown best a bag, dear. We better to use your waiting the
Hand shelling of maize is a common practice among most smallholder farmers in Ghana. In the absence of sophisticated technology in developing countries, they resort to this traditional method, which is reported to contribute a significant amount of grain losses. Tediousness, coupled with a non-ready market, is pushing many individuals in Ghana from the maize farming venture.
Said Nidium. Aha, send camera meton, as a craft first, not out of one crema. Would I be good, now I fancy. You near drones were the better crab, man, I say, with me at Accra, Amanaya day, Achena, Dutch, and what's what on. Oh, we and I say, open your better. So what you man finds out this one is over yarn, as we not of war. Then be I a bread quack. Oh, because the man so you're so not of war, and the man's way day, and bet me I'm wired to look so anymore. Oh, then be a I can hear say, pa, I want my tongue, my. Oh, then you know your problem, pa.
The lack of commercial processing of maize and improper storage facilities are causing immense food losses and insecurity in Ghana. As a result, farmers are compelled to sell their bumper harvest at low prices. Having gained a master's degree in project management, Ivan Atta Amwaku decided to cultivate maize and cassava on his 8-acre land in Manson Kwanta. After a bumper harvest and listening to concerns by other maize farmers in his community, Ivan resolved to develop the maize shelling machine for smallholder farmers.
So you are still watching the food chain with me, Emmanuel Bright-Kweku, here on the Joy News channel. And I have with me the developer. He goes by the name Ivan Atta Amoakun.
Good.
And we will try and engage with him on what this machine is, the functions of the machine, and then why he even developed this particular machine. Mr. Ivan, welcome to the channel.
Thank you very much.
Alright, so I can see this machine is a cutie, and yeah, it looks simple, but we want to know. It's a powerful machine. What name have you actually given to it before we start our conversation? Do you have any name for the machine?
Oh yes.
Okay, what
It's actually a corn shelling machine.
Okay.
Yeah, a corn shelling machine developed by Avanios Engineering Consult.
Okay, okay. Interesting, but I'd want to find out what are the functions, or how does this actually operate?
Okay. What's happened is that this rod, as you see over here, there are some chains attached to the rods. Yes, some fuel. You put it on, and then once this rod begins to revolve or begins to turn, anything at all, you can power it with this machine. You can also power it with electricity source. Once it begins to turn, the chains in there will be hitting the cone, and then it will end up deceiving the cone. That's how it actually works. Because sometimes the amount of maize we put in might be somewhere here, and this one too is turning with a very high, with a very high power. So once it turns, and then the maize is halfway full, you understand? It should have actually been somewhere here, so that the lighter bodies will come out. And if the maize is halfway full, then sometimes it will end up taking some of the fresh maize. So like you just remove this bolt, as you see over here, and then the lighter bodies will exit through here.
Okay, so as it's revolving, I know the chaff will be in the air, and then
It just comes out.
But somebody would want to know, or I personally want to know, why you decided to develop this thing. Why? What's the reason behind it?
Okay, so it all started from when I decided to go into farming. I actually consulted my pastor. He's called Reverend David Opoku. He's the district pastor for Assemblies of God, AG, Manson Kwanta.
Interesting.
So he actually encouraged me, go into it. And then I did about 6 to 7 acres of maize. But then I was also thinking that, hey, these 6 to 7 acres of maize, and we're also running a daycare school. Are we going to have time to deseed all this corn? So it actually became a problem for me. So I was just thinking through and praying to God, and through revelations and all that, some of this idea came. So anytime the idea comes, I actually started with something. That one, it's a manual something. You put in the corn, it is there, I can go and show you now. You put in the corn and you begin to tilt it this way. It will be going. And I also developed another machine. That one, it uses GS. And that one is powered by angle cutting machine.
Okay.
So once it revolves this way, how do you call it? The GS inside the drum will also begin to turn, and then it will be removing the corn. Okay. But I realized that about 2, 3, or 4 corn, there was a cut on them. So I decided, this one wouldn't be prudent. Yeah. Because once it's a cut, yes, it's not everybody who buys that goes to, feed on it, or maybe going to use it to prepare food or something. Somebody will decide to go and buy and then go and plant. So once it's cut off, there's no way it will germinate. Then I switched to this, but then the principle is the same, but just that I changed the design.
Now let's talk about the efficiency of the machine.
Okay.
I know most of the time these machines, when they are developed, they have a bit of efficiency. Somebody will be concerned, hey, whilst it's deseeding, what if it splits or something happens? What's the efficiency?
Yeah, this thing can take about 50 to 70 pieces of this maize, as I say, that stick. Even the bigger one can take about 50, and the smaller ones can take about 70. And in less than a minute, you should be able to shell it.
The 70?
The 70.
All of them?
All of them.
As compared to, let's say, using hours to deseed the 70 corn stick.
But the corn stick, if you are using your thumb, you can imagine. Even one, are you not going to spend more than a minute or 2? Nah. So in less than a minute, you are able to shell off about 70 pieces. That's how it is. Okay. And that 70 pieces we are talking about is equivalent to, I think, a full of this
the rubber bucket these women have been using. I haven't actually taken the measurement.
Is it what they call the olunka?
No. It's more than the olunka. And that rubber is sold at a cost of 100 cedis.
Wow.
That is over here. I don't know of Accra, but I know Accra will be much expensive than here.
Okay. All right. So when did you develop this machine, or when did you even start to think about it?
Okay, for the thinking about it, I think it took me about 3 months.
Which year was this? Is it this year?
Just this year.
So you developed this thing just this year?
Just this year.
Oh, okay.
So we actually used about 2 to 3 weeks to develop this. But if there are resources available, this one you should be able to use about a day or two to finish with the design.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And I think everything was brought, the materials was brought, you took them locally?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
The wood, the metal?
The wood, yes.
Apart from maybe this motor?
Yeah. Okay. This wood thing you are seeing, the one that will be passing by and I will see some pieces. Oh, master, these pieces, what are you using them for? If you're not using it, let me pack them.
Okay.
Then I used to develop it, yeah.
Okay. Just before we go, I want to understand if we can only use this machine for corn only, or there are other crops you are also experimenting this machine with.
Yeah, for now, yes. This is for only corn. But I'm also trying to come up with a beans deseeding machine.
Okay.
Beans, yeah. This is for corn. But I'm also trying to come up with beans because I realize that people are also suffering with beans. And with the corn project too, there's another project I'm trying to embark on. This thing has to pass because sometimes November thereabouts the rains are that much, so you didn't get much sun to dry your corn.
Okay.
So after it is deseed, we are also trying how best we can dry it.
Okay. So you attach a dryer?
Yes, we attach a dryer. I know there is a dryer, but that one, I don't have that money to purchase.
Maybe somebody will want direct sun rays.
That's what I'm saying. But what about if there is no sun? What do? If there's no sun, you definitely have to opt for a different alternative.
I think those times they used to, forefathers, they used to use the smoke from the kitchen, usually, just to, I think that was just to scare away the weevils and what have you.
Yeah.
But maybe the drying bits might not come.
But you see, that one, I don't have problem with it. But how long will that take? It will take a very long time. But if you have a dryer in about 40 minutes or 45 minutes, it is able to dry about 10 bags for you. What's your problem? Okay. You don't need to go in for the old. Then if you are sticking to the old method, then it means we are not improving. Yeah. Okay. So sometimes we need to switch a bit and then also buy into this technology stuff. Yeah.
Okay. Now I want to know your position on introducing technology into our local farming.
Okay.
Something you've developed something like this.
Yeah.
And then what do you think if we have a lot of technology in our farming system? How is it going to benefit?
Oh, it's actually going to help. Then the food chain you are talking about, then it means there wouldn't be much problem. We wouldn't be always exporting food stuff from United States, Canada, and all that. Sometimes we can be doing some of them here. It has got to do with the processing. That is the problem. The preservation and the processing. That is the major problem we are facing in Ghana here. So I think people have to come on board. Let's try and do a lot to preserve and a lot to process. And that one, a lot more of the youth will also join us in this agriculture stuff.
Okay. All right, sure. So thank you very much. So
welcome,
I've been interacting with Ivan Atta Amwakon. He developed this structure to help farmers deseed corn. Usually when it comes in a form of a stick, but he has actually come up with a technology that you can easily deseed. Normally you would want to do it in this form where you use your hand and then you try and pull off the seed from it and then it just comes out. But he has developed a technology where he just puts this corn inside and then you are done. You get your corn out just like this, and it's just an easy way of deseeding your corn.
David Opoku Ayambila, a maize farmer in the area, shares his experience using the sheller.
Okay, so I have the man who actually motivated Ivan into developing this setup, and he goes by the name Reverend David Opoku. Reverend, thank you for joining us. We first want to find out, onya de we mama yet I say so you sound so a farmer.
Yeah.
Didn't know we hear some.
I'm say but you can't catch himself a so ye a brufu. Let me say no cry say on ye. Now send an edgeman a cosono. Let's say Timinia Fidia will be timid to send a dick a kaino. The tenor so we are not so doing set to and I see a po. That's if so to me yen the door. Intimation no cry say, oh yes, I feel the bit my abuano and intinama to me a year no.
Okay. Now our personal experience, who to two adena mammy experience, and I hear sometimes if
Yasam Keto cry, who to Trano and Sano, a Jena Moja. And my own team to the door pay. Fans what do brube 10 bassa. Okaso what Nasia to tour. A bit to my take you be 1 month. Answer what to do. Name of the when if you didn't say they are within short time, and I say what to do away.
Oh, okay. Now sometimes more be up some intimate to me say, Anna.
It me say, since I want to tour, nego on man a pro. And who to tunness with me, baby, at the channels I come out.
Oh, okay. Okay, now a person who personal experience with machine or saying who you say and a boy saying,
oh, but a boy pa, since a boy a quantum. Because one for back on phone sent to know. Never feed dinner to more than 20 and 30. Until we a fast a dancer would do some able to know.
Okay. Yeah, that's relevant.
The relative stagnation in agricultural productivity in recent years, particularly in developing countries like Ghana, underscores the need for new ideas to improve rural livelihoods. Reports suggest the key driver for increasing agricultural productivity and rising incomes is the adoption of innovative technologies and practices by farmers. I've been interacting with a lecturer at the Agricultural Engineering Department of the KNUST on the need to incorporate indigenous technologies in farming.
So you are still watching the Food Chain on the Joy News channel with me, Emmanuel Bright Kweku, and I have with me Professor Joseph Oponwa-Kowua, who is a professor in Food and Post-Harvest Losses Engineering here at the Department of Agriculture and Engineering at the KNUST. And I'll be finding out how we can intertwine indigenous technology in solving some of these post-harvest challenges, especially with regards to maize shelling by farmers across the country. Prof, thank you for joining us.
All right, thank you for the opportunity.
Yeah,
yes,
thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you very much. So we just want to find out basically what's your overview of our agriculture system and how technology, in the absence of technology, how is the agriculture system generally in your view? How is it like?
Okay, well, so thank you for the question. Indeed, when you talk about agriculture in Ghana, it's really a challenge for especially our smallholder farmers. I'm sure you may have traveled across the country and you may have come across in terms of how we are doing our production. We tend to depend on the rains for production, and so we are able to produce more. However, because we lack the basic technologies to help maintain whatever that we have produced, we always encounter a lot of post-harvest losses. And so when you take a typical case of maize, you realize that farmers produce so much. When they finish, we need the grain, the kernel, to be able to process it into some other products for industry and for other uses. The challenge has been the quantum that they've produced. How are they able, within a certain time frame, be able to get it shelled or get it fresh to be able to get the grain or the kernel from the maize cob? And that is really one of the key challenges that is facing our smallholder farmers. So I should say that it's an area or it's a sector that has the potential to really address our food security issues. But then I should say without technology, without the basic tools that are required to help our farmers, will always be found wanting when it comes to post-harvest losses.
How does this shelling by hand contribute to post-harvest loss, or the amount? Do you have any idea?
Well, so as I said, when you harvest your maize, there should be a time frame that you should get it off. You know, if you are not dry or it's not well dry, to keep it in the cup and you harvest it. Traditionally, what the farmers will do is that they will heap it in their farms. And so when you heap it, the tendency is that it could create an environment where heat could be developed within the center of the heap. And these are precursors for what we call aflatoxins, which are not very good as far as our food consumption and our health is concerned. And so we expect that when farmers harvest their maize, within 2-3 days, it should be threshed so as to be able to get the kernel to dry, and that helps the drying process, because then you've removed the cob, which has a lot of water in it, which can transfer that water to the kernel. So when you have been able to shell and remove the kernel, then it makes it easier for you to do faster drying, and therefore that reduces the tendencies of aflatoxins or contamination from molds and other bacteria. So using your hand, and like I talk about the quantum, obviously you'll not be able to remove everything within that short period. And so what it means is that you are likely to leave the maize that has not been threshed, still within that kind of environment, and that contributes to contamination, and that contributes to the post-harvest losses. Okay. And so it is not about just using it's about the delays, the challenges that the farmers go through that results in the maize getting spoiled, because they are not able to shell or easily get all the kernels from the crops within a shorter time.
Okay. Prof, do you think the government can come in to support the farmers in accessing some of these indigenous technologies so they can prevent these post-harvest losses?
Absolutely. Government is a very key player as far as the agri sector is concerned. Government uses hard currency to import a lot of what we consume, and as I said, post-harvest losses virtually is what is really not making it possible for we to have all that we need. I mean, depending on the quantum of production we do, a lot of it goes waste as a result of post-harvest losses, and that means that we are not able to meet up the level of what the consumption needs of the country, and therefore we have to import to augment it. If we are able to channel resources, policies, interventions to help address these post-harvest losses through, like I said, a scheme that allows these technologies to be easily accessible, made it available, make the farmers, able to patronize and purchase these equipment or these machines, then in a way you are also reducing post-harvest losses. And that will mean that we'll have a lot of food available to the country, to industry, and for the household sector to also make it a bit comfortable for them when it comes to addressing their needs in terms of their food consumption.
Culture as the backbone of the Ghanaian economy and a fast advancing sector in the country, there is the need to inculcate technology to lift some of the burden faced by farmers. I hope you enjoyed today's discussion here on the food chain. My name has always been Emmanuel Bright Kweku. Join us same time next week here on the Joy News channel.